culprit
of the crop circles.
No, of the balls of light.
Of the balls of light.
I think I don't agree with all that jargon.
Yeah.
But I agree that there are scientific phenomenon that I don't understand because I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
But as a photographer, if you snap a picture and a thing of dust comes at the right spot of that picture, that thing of dust looks like an enormous ball of something.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, if we can have an aurora borealis where the night sky turns into a rainbow, what's to say we can't have some sort of atmospheric phenomenon that happens that creates balls of light?
Very true.
And the fact that they're all occurring predominantly in one area, like on Golden Ball Hill, indicates further to me that there's something atmospheric.
Yeah.
Just like the aurora borealis typically happens up in the northern hemisphere or in the extremes. Is further, and every now and then creeps down where maybe you can see one in different areas. It does indicate that there could be something atmospheric.
Yeah.
And I think I just not ready to say that. And of course, I kind of say in jest they were flashlights or headlamps or things like that. But the reality is they could be any number of things. They could be a series of helicopters, which would be awfully close together. But there are things that can be explained. I'm just not the guy to explain them.
Now, this is interesting, too, before we move along, just kind of going back to the very, very beginning, like with my intro, when I talked about how in certain instances where there are, with the crop circles, we haven't gotten to it yet, but we will eventually talk about some of the science and the data in the quantifiable evidence that can be, seen at certain crop circles, okay?
Okay.
Which then makes it into a mystery. Like, suddenly you're left without an explanation. We have absolutely no science. Like, there's actually no quantifiable science with these balls of light. You know what I mean?
Ballologists.
Ballologists. But isn't it interesting how, again, it's just like, but the lack of science, it gives, like you said, I say in jest, it could just be a headlamp or it could be a flashlight or whatever. But it's easy, like, well, when there's no science, to point in a direction of something we can't answer. But in this instance, the balls of light, we can offer up explanations, and even in something you're saying potential. I'm not saying that this is your definitive, and I like this. You're saying there's a potential that it's something atmospheric that we may actually just haven't actually. Not, I don't want to say discovered yet, but like don't know what it is yet.
Some people haven't. It sounds like there are experts that have explanations.
Okay,
and again, you're the type of person that because they say it, you believe it's true.
Well,
so
isn't the whole thing with like lightning? That like still to this day scientists really don't actually understand.
Really?
Oh, I
like,
don't know. I thought
I don't know.
I mean, I
think it's like
I had a teacher that showed me how to make lightning in class, in science class. So
Yeah.
I guess it's no. Seriously, I think it's an understood phenomenon.
Is it? Are you sure?
He made lightning.
Well, okay.
And they know that it strikes from the top and bottom, and it has something to do with electrical charges. I'm not a scientist to explain this, but I know it was shown to me in a science class, and it was created right there in front of my eyes. So obviously. Wow. If my middle school, high school science teacher can explain it to me.
I thought I read stuff recently where like they have a pretty good idea, like what you're saying about lightning, but as far as exactly what causes it, it's still not like.
Oh, maybe they don't know
it's not like 100% like understood is all I'm getting at, which leaves the door open to say, well, there's these balls of light. Sure. It could be an atmospherical thing. It could be some kind of a plasma, but doesn't mean that we.
I mean, the reality is it is a flying object
because we don't get news reports.
Right.
We don't
unidentified.
But like when you open up your weather app on your phone, like the weather.com app, it tells you like today's going to be a high pollen day or low humidity day or chance of rain or it's going to start raining. Like I get like notifications on my phone that says it will start raining in 4 minutes, like crap like that. But I've never once had a thing that says like today high chance of balls of light.
Right.
So it's
okay.
not.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
And I'm not discrediting anything. I'm just saying that if it's something that
you don't live in an area where there's been. Historically balls of light, right?
So would my app give me different reports?
I don't know. I don't live out there. But you're right. But it could be a scientific phenomenon that's not understood. You had two people that are professors, and I don't remember where they were professors, but you just had two professors that Jeff looked up that explained those balls of light. And you won't accept that, but you'll accept that there are no footprints.
Oh no, I'm not accepting it. I think that it sounded like the way he read it is that's their best explanation.
I'm just
their explanation,
I'm just not gonna believe a Siriologist who says there's no footprints before I believe a professor who has a PhD in that field. I assume he's not a professor of linguistics talking.
No,
about
I guess what I'm saying is
phenomenon,
I find it
but-
more fascinating.
Physicist.
On a separate topic from the crop circles, I'm kind of finding it fascinating that there's potential that there's like an atmospheric phenomena that we don't really fully understand. Like this might be something that's completely like a natural, earthbound, natural
Yeah, I think there's
atmospheric phenomena, these balls of light, but it's something that like, and we have professors giving their best guess of what it is, but clearly like it's not something that we've ever, like we learned about all sorts of weather related things just.
But these don't affect us. The reason you get warnings for lightning and rain and humidity and temperature is because those things affect the way that you live your day-to-day life. There's zero benefit for predicting balls of light. You don't know that those balls of light haven't killed anybody yet.
Well, if
lightning kills people.
If it's a day, if they fly around during the day, and it's going to be a day, it's like, hey, today it's going to be heavy balls of light. It could mess up some traffic.
Well, I mean, it could. I just don't think. I mean, I think we're at a point where nobody's researching it. It's probably not as heavily researched as things like weather, because weather affects the day-to-day life of individuals.
Right.
Balls of light are neat.
Yeah.
So,
So,
but there's explanations. I once heard one time we know more about outer space than we know about our own sea. What's underneath and what's at the bottom of our own ocean.
Yeah.
So because it's what was historically interesting at the time. So I absolutely believe that there are physical phenomena that we don't understand or we don't have an explanation for yet.
I just
I'll
think
totally buy
I just find it fascinating if the balls of light is one of those things. Like you in the documentary. Now, there's one that I'm going to show is clearly fake. But they show like at least several instances. Like if you guys remember watching the documentary, there's at least several times where they show like footage of a ball of light flying around that someone caught. And let's say that one of those are real. It's an interesting thing. It's neat. It's weird. It's kind of maybe semi-explainable, but it's not something that we fully understand.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's fascinating about that, even in terms of like it being able to be understood. Anyways, anything else? Balls of light. Moving along. Oh, here we go. So this actually ties us right in. The Oliver's Castle story. So if you guys remember, I'm sure you remember, I had you guys specifically watch this clip, but the Oliver's Castle story was specifically where the guy supposedly had footage of a crop circle being made.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That was
Okay.
cool.
This was the time-lapse footage? Well, the not time-lapse footage.
Yeah,
Right.
but this was kind of like another turning point. Okay.
It looks so real.
Yeah. I remember.
It was well done. I mean, it shows something.
I will admit that I think the documentary that has this in it I watched like a year ago, and when I saw it, now it's presented in the documentary. They do kind of like slyly at the end mention like, oh, they're like, look at this, and then at the end they're like, oh, the credibility has been questioned about this. On to the next topic. You know what I mean? So the first time I watched that documentary and I saw that scene, I was like, oh my gosh, like we actually have footage of like a crop circle being made, and it just like, no matter what, if you see that for the first time and you don't know the story behind it, like just seeing that, like you obviously clearly a question of whether it's real or not, but it's very fascinating footage to see, no matter what. And I'm sure like you guys seeing that for the first time were probably intrigued by it at least, right?
Like Sir No Face.
Yeah. Yep, just like Sir No Face. But what I want to do is I'm going to tell the whole story about this because it has a lot to do with the whole crop circle phenomenon. It's a very long, complicated story. I don't want it to be long and complicated in my retelling. I'm going to keep it as simple as I can. So I'm going to be leaving a lot out for the purpose of just trying to simplify it. But at the end of the day, the simplest thing is that a man approached a cereologist at a pub.
Where do you get your degree in cereology, by the way? Where does one obtain this? How does one become a cereologist? Can I be a cereologist?
Microsoft Word.
Jeff, I hereby
You
W.
are.
Apple P, print.
Self-declared.
Well, I use Microsoft, so I guess I'm PC. Am I out?
I said Microsoft Word. That's what I said.
I know, but if I don't have an Apple button, so
It's
can
control.
I still be a cereologist?
Yeah,
Okay.
Apple is just control. So a gentleman comes forward. I think he calls himself John Whaley, and he approaches some cereologists at a pub. He's like, "Check out this footage I have." Okay, they see the footage, and then from there, the footage eventually gets out into documentaries and things like that we see. So the story is that this guy went. He went out with the intent of maybe trying to catch something. Like he went out to areas that are known for crop circles appearing. I camped out that night, and he said that when he woke up, like around 5 a.m. or so, he heard a buzzing noise. It woke him up, and when he woke up, he saw these balls of light flying around in front of him down in the field. He picked up his camera, turned his camera on, and like right as he hit record, the crop formed. And for those of you that haven't seen this footage, you can certainly go on YouTube. It's called Oliver's Castle. Just type Oliver's Castle crop circle. But what it is, it's footage of a series of about 4 or 5. It's a first of all, it's a footage of a field. And about 4 or 5 balls of light fly into the frame, and they're kind of spinning around in a circle. And then while the balls of light are spinning around in a circle, the crops underneath the balls of light immediately just like kind of like lay down and form a crop circle, and then the balls of light fly off. So like basically, in a sense, a crop formation appears in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's the story. Now, I looked into this more from the perspective of the cereologist, and there's a lot that goes down with this, and I'm going to try to sum it up as quick as I can. So first of all, the story actually started the day before. So these cereologists are basically in southern England for the week, studying crop circles, and this man approaches them the day before, actually, and he says, "Hey, my name's John, like I hear you guys know a lot about crop circles." He's kind of, and he's like, "Do you have any suggestions on places I should go to, like to find one or see these balls of light or something like that?" And they mention like a series of places to go.
Okay.
He doesn't go to any of those places.
Okay.
He goes somewhere else, and he's like, no, and he kept saying, he's like, in case I catch something, where can I find you tomorrow? He's like, where are you staying? What's your phone number? Where can I find you tomorrow? Something like that. So fast forward to the next day, John Whaley comes back, and he's like, I got something. Like, it's crazy that he approaches these cereologists the day before. He's like, hey, if I catch something on my video camera, where can I find you? So he comes back to the bar the next day. He's like, I got something. You need to see this. Now, the story actually goes that the first two, there was a group of like 3 cereologists, but on that particular moment, only 2 of them were at the pub. Now, the 2 that on that day that saw the footage, they said all the footage was when they first viewed it, what they were looking at was just footage of balls of light over a field. That's all the footage was, that there was no crop circle being formed. That all that they recall seeing and watching clearly
in the video was
balls of light floating around.
Okay.
And they're like, "Oh, this is cool. You caught the balls of light."
Okay.
And the guy immediately already had a contract prepared. Was like, "Do you want to buy the rights to this or whatever?" You know what I mean? So that you can get this out there. He's like, "I don't want anything to do with this, but I figured you would want this to get this out there." And so I think they do buy the rights to it. Now, at the end of the week, because remember I said these 3 cereologists were there for like a week. The third one hadn't seen it yet. So now at the end of the week, it's the last day before I think they were leaving to come to the U.S. And on the last day, the third person meets with the guy to see the footage, and that's when he describes the footage that we know, which is the footage of like the formation being formed.
Okay.
And the other 2 people are like, "No, we don't remember that, and we clearly would have seen that. We didn't just watch footage of a crop circle being formed in front of our face. It would be like mind-blowing to the field that we do for a living, and just both missed that." Okay?
Right.
So things are already getting weird. And so now they have the rights to the footage, this and that. They don't really do anything with it because they just are always questionable about this guy, this John Whaley that approached him at the pub. Long story short, it turns out that so they start looking into this. Oh, John, when he gave him the contract, he gave them a phone number and a bank account number. He said, he's like, "All I want is 10% of the royalties. Here's a bank account, just deposit. I'll just take your word for it, but I just want you to deposit 10% of the royalties that you make from this footage into this bank account." And he goes, if you need me, here's my phone number, but I just want to tell you up front, this isn't my phone number. It's my friend's phone. So when you call, it'll actually be my friend that answers because I'm between phones right now. I'm like, so this is all
this is getting fishy.
weird, right?
Yeah.
So they eventually they start doing some research to figure out whose phone number this is and bank account, and both the phone number and the bank account point to a John Wabe, W-A-B-E. So this guy introduced himself at the bar as John Whaley, but the phone number and the bank account match up to a guy by the name of John Wabe. So eventually they start trying to track down John Wayne. They really have nothing to go off of. And then they just start thinking, like, well, let's just look at it from a perspective that this guy made this footage. Like, clearly this is in the days before digital editing, which Jeff and I were talking about earlier. Like,